of Tuesday, May 26, 2020, and has been our tradition for many, many years. I'd like to begin the evening with reciting the Lord's Prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item again tonight will be our third meeting live streaming from Town Hall. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the executive session minutes of May 11th.
I just have a time change on that, Mayor.
Sure.
Second sentence towards the end said we started at 7 p.m. I don't believe that's correct because we started the regular meeting at 7:10. Jeff, was that 6:30 or 6?
Move to 6.
6?
Yeah.
That's the only change I've got.
Okay, where is that?
Second sentence towards the end.
Call the meeting to order at 7 p.m.
Okay.
Just something like
What's
that.
your number, Bob? Let's get that change made then.
But other than that, if there are no other corrections, move to approve.
The executive session minutes. Okay, all in favor of approving the executive session minutes with that correction? I'll say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Abstain.
Okay, so we have a 4-0 vote with Councilmember Burrell abstaining. And again, the reason for abstention is because we're here. Yeah. Okay. Next is the statement of closure for that executive session. And under the Maryland Open Meetings Act, the executive session on May 11th was on the basis that before a contract is awarded or bids are opened to discuss a matter directly related to a negotiating strategy or the contents of a bid or proposal, public discussion or disclosure would adversely impact the ability of the public body to participate in the competitive bidding or proposal process. All right. Now we're up to 1C, and that is the approval of the regular session minutes, May 11th.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve the regular session minutes as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Abstain.
Okay, again, the vote is 4-0 with one abstention, which is Councilmember Burrell. Okay, now, before I start item 2, I just want to make some comments about the upcoming public hearing, which is item 3 on the agenda. We are about to begin item 2 on tonight's meeting agenda, which is a discussion of a contract award for street resurfacing projects this summer. But prior to that discussion, I wish to inform all citizens who are following tonight's meeting via live stream that if you have any questions you would like to have discussed about the town's proposed new budget during the public hearing, that will be our third agenda item, please send them to us via Facebook. Everyone, please note that public comments via Facebook will only be taken during tonight's public hearing. The staff member will read the questions to the mayor and council out loud via live stream, and we will do our best to respond. There will be no written response via Facebook, but the format will be as close as possible to the regular public hearing procedure the Berlin Mayor and Council has followed for many years. So now we move on to item 2, which is motion, considering a motion to award Berlin street resurfacing projects to ECM Corporation in the amount of $348,740. And Josh, we're going to be making the presentation. Sure. Okay.
So, as you guys all know, we opened bids
And you have the May 18th recommendation packet from Davis Bone and Fidel, hopefully in your packets tonight. ECM is a contractor from the Western Shore that has been making its way to the Eastern Shore. They've got 3 out of 4 of the last projects that I worked on in Del Mar. And they were loaded on this project.
Can I jump in?
Sure.
Josh had shared with me after the bid came in, this ECM company, I asked him if he had any dealings with them and where they had done work predominantly here on the Eastern Shore. He shared with me Easton, Del Mar, and Fruitland. So that was a Thursday evening. I drove to Easton when I left here. And again, I'm not an asphalt person, but I was looking at how things matched up, if you will, with manholes, with valve covers, etc. And I left there, I went to Del Mar, I looked at the same thing. And then the next morning, I contacted Mike Gibbons in Fruitland and asked him what his experience was with this company. He said they did good work.
So it's not the company that's contracted with the state?
They have done work for Baltimore County, Worcester County, but they did not list the state. We only asked for 5 references. They didn't list the state. So they may have done work for the state of Maryland. I'm just not aware of it.
No, the reason why I asked that is because right outside the town boundaries, the county did the same thing that we're getting ready to do.
Flower Street, that section from town to Kent, where
In the
it
middle.
splits, the county just paid that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So we checked, as Jeff did, we also checked their references. We had experience with them on utility work and concrete work, a little bit of paving, but really not a paving project. But everything we've heard has been good. Like I said, we've worked with them on 3 projects, and so we're training them and making sure they understand what it is that they need to do up front so there's no surprises. And I can tell you, we will have eyes on them while they're in town, making sure that they're doing everything per town standard.
In fact, the county, when they did their road that Jeff's talking about, they gave everybody on Flower Street a notice that the road was going to be repaved, resurfaced. And,
But the county failed to do one thing, they failed to tell the town.
yeah,
Exactly.
yep,
Yeah, and we'll be working out a process to notify street, since the projects are really spread out amongst the town, we'll definitely have a notification process in place before we get started, so that people know when they're coming. We want people to be comfortable. So hopefully, similar to what we did on Gay Street and Baker Street, we can make sure that if you make the people feel like you care about them and you respect their wishes, then they'll usually play nice. So we will coordinate that effort with Jeff. So we looked at their bids. We were a little concerned at first because just speaking in round numbers, they're at $350,000. Terra Firma was at $500,000, and George and Lynch was at $475,000. So I called the contractor myself and made sure that they were comfortable with their bid, made sure that they did not miss anything. And basically what they told me was that they really wanted to do work in this area, and they saw this as a good project to go after hard. They told me the day before that their number was at 475, and that both owners really wanted this project. Both of them took a chunk out of it, and they kind of regretted that the bids opened, but they were happy to get the project, and they're happy to be coming to town. Like I said, they're wrapping up 3 projects right now in Del Mar, so they have crews ready to go as soon as we are ready to get them here. So, after our evaluation of the bids, Davis Bone Fidel recommends award to ECM Corporation in the amount of $348,740. If that's something that the town would like to proceed with at this time.
Now, the portion on Harrison Avenue, will that run to the railroad tracks, or where's that going?
And we'll run all the way out to the stop sign.
All,
Broad Street. Broad Street.
I see that, but what I'm asking is that the section runs from Broad Street headed north, and how far north does that go?
There was a break there where the road was much nicer.
Okay.
Library.
Yeah, before you get to the library.
It's already been done in the libraries.
So where Harrison Avenue hasn't been improved?
Correct.
Is where the work will be done, okay.
It looks like it's a little shorter than what you're showing there.
It looks like the railroad track, on.
Yeah. I mean, your red line, it just,
Yeah.
Brittany Lane is that stem that goes off the side there before you get to the library. And it's, I mean, I would assume you're doing Brittany Lane on up to the library, right? The section is from Brittany Lane or not?
We're going just north of, to the D.S. Atkins,
Okay,
Yeah.
just north of that.
that's the railroad tracks.
Okay.
That's
But
not the library. Yeah,
Yeah, no, we're not going all the way to the library.
yeah.
Was there any infrastructure stuff that,
No, that's all.
that's all?
I was thinking that railroad tracks have been paved over, I'm sorry, on the side.
Yeah, right next to Adams Company, between the Harrison House and Adams Company.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in pretty good shape. You need to go there.
Yeah, right at that, where that transition is from the north end,
Just wait until the siren stops, because nobody can hear, I'm sure, that's listening to the meeting.
Does it happen often?
Now, just for clarification, this proposed road work on Harrison Avenue goes from Broad Street to, what is the destination north on Harrison Avenue?
So the north edge, the northern boundary of the D.S. Atkins property.
All right, so it doesn't include the part that goes from the railroad track to Brittany Lane?
No, I don't think so. No.
So that's in pretty good shape.
Yeah, it's in fine shape.
It's a bond, even though it's not brand new.
Yeah, it's.
Okay, I just want to know.
It's decent. It's but much better than the other stuff, so.
Okay,
I just wanted to make sure it was at least going to the railroad track.
Yeah,
okay.
there was night and day, and we're paving night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good deal.
We paved the property where the Atkins Company is, we're only doing the road bed, is that right?
Correct.
And I have solicited Atkins Company and shared with them, if this is approved and if we do this, you're gonna have the contractor there, you might wanna jump on board, but I think it would be fairly inexpensive if you got them right there and they wanted to be part of it.
Okay. All right.
Twice.
And notice in your letter that you're recommending that Shaw Street have a total reconstruction, including an underground utilities in our next fiscal year, which would basically be a commitment of almost all of our roadway, our street funding for the next fiscal year.
Yeah, Jeff would have to discuss which funding sources would be for the water, the sewer, and the streets.
Yeah.
But that's a $300,000 project, and it is definitely,
What's going to, we anticipate it will take all or almost all of our highway user revenue funds for next year, plus whatever we need to kick in. And I just want to make it clear that in this, we have the one contract we're talking about here, but we also have what I'll call temporary improvements to Shaw Street this year, so that it's not waiting a full year for the street part to be at least improved and stabilized. Then the next year, it's a total renovation, and all the way down to the sewer water lines and everything else that's underground.
yeah, that's what I was trying to discuss. So when I talk about the long-term and short-term recommendations for South Street.
But that's why I just asked, because I want to make sure we're all on the same page. Because that was my understanding, and I was just making sure official that basically we do these streets what is it, about roughly 12 streets this year, and then we basically do Shaw Street next year, to the exclusion of everything else, and then we'll be able to go back to improving as many streets as we can afford in any one fiscal year.
On an annual basis, yes.
Is everybody on the same page there?
I have a question, because some of the information you passed along indicated that there's some water supplies that may not be adequate. Is there a way to get a graphical representation of that? So that we can see this the same way we're looking at the streets, we can say, okay, these areas may have 2-inch water lines that need to be replaced.
Yeah, we actually we did just that for the town last year. We looked at where, we put together a list of all the water mains that were 4 inches and under, I think under 4 inches. And because after the issues we had on Gay Street, we wanted to make sure that we didn't run into that again with somebody needing fire protection and not being together.
So
I
can we
can
get
get you
a copy of
that.
that?
Yeah, if you get that to Jeff, and then Jeff, if you'll distribute it to everyone, so we have it updated, because, you know.
And also, the town saw fit to have us get started on the South Street project. So we have full design permitted plans for South Street to replace the water, replace the sewer, and fix the roadway.
And what about the same information that we have for water? Do we have that for like the ceramic pipes or sewer? Or do we not have that?
We have partial information.
What would it take to get it all done?
The popping main holes and checking pipe material.
Which we have some of that equipment, right? If we could have a good understanding of where the infrastructure needs are, I think that would be smart.
Yeah, it would certainly help you to rate and rank and prioritize your projects. And Shao is kind of a double whammy, because not only is it, I mean, I was told, and I didn't find the plans, but I was told that water and sewer was probably installed in the 50s. Is that, as far as you guys know, is that accurate? Because that would be a 70-year-old pipe. And 70-year-old ceramic doesn't hold up real well. And then it was also buried shallow. So it's a, I'll say it's a time bomb. It's not a matter of if, but when.
It's not a matter of if it will fail, but when.
When, especially if you were to bring paving equipment onto that road without being ready to replace the sewer.
But you're confident we can get this slurry done without jeopardizing?
Yes.
of
The
this
slurry seal is not a paving process, it's more of a placement process. And instead of using graded aggregate mixed with your petroleum product to make an asphalt, it's a sand. So you're sealing the cracks, you're sealing the road, you're preserving the road, you're making it look much better at a much more economical rate until a time when you can get in there and properly repair the water. So
But it is our understanding, all our understanding, that our plan, our commitment is to do that street in the next fiscal year, which is fiscal '22, right? Because we're preparing for fiscal '21, which begins July 1. So a year from now, that is what I would anticipate being, proposed and budgeted for.
My plan is to be here this time next year to present that.
Okay.
Hey Jeff, take a ride down past the town line on Fly Street. There's a section there that just did the county just did. Looks pretty good.
Is that with the slurry they did?
No,
No, they-
that's no longer like.
Okay.
It's kind of rough, but it patches the street pretty good.
Smooth.
All right, so, what are you looking for, Jeff?
Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Next item, number 2, would be compacted. Motion 2020-14.
So moved. Motion.
Are you making the
Make
motion?
motion to award
Okay.
the contract to ECM for the amount of
There it is. 348,740.
45, there you go.
Okay, so we have a motion to, by Councilmember Cornell to award Berlin Street resurfacing projects that were proposed to ECM Corporation in the amount of $348,740. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. And thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you to all of you. And I just want to make sure it's done right.
You want me to stick around here?
Any questions? Can we let Josh go? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Josh, what date did you say they would probably get started?
So once we'll have to go through their submittals, but I'd say, I'll confirm with them, but I'll say they'll probably be ready to get started by early July.
I'm a month behind. I really wanted to have everything wrapped up.
If I push them, we might be able to get started in June, but I'll call them and I'll let you know tomorrow,
All right, thank you.
what the earliest they get started.
Yes, we got a place for them to point out.
All right, we're moving on to item 3 on the agenda, which is at our last mayor and council meeting on May 11th, the council approved by a vote of 3-1 to not change the current real property tax rate of 80 cents per $100 of assessed value for the new fiscal year, starting July 1st. Tonight is the public hearing to establish the fiscal year 2021 town budget. There are no changes in the budget since it was introduced on May 11th. Fiscal 2021 proposed budget for adoption will begin on July 1st and by fund as follows. The general fund total is $5.9 million, which is a reduction of $244,630, or 4% below the current year's budget. The electric fund total is $5.5 million, which is an increase of $173,000, or 3% under the current year's budget. The water fund total is $941,000, which is an increase of $25,975, or 3% more than the current budget. The sewer fund total is $2.5 million, which is an increase of $56,089, or an increase of 2% compared to the current budget. The stormwater fund total is $379,000, which is a decrease of $75,900, or 17% less than the current budget. Total proposed budget for all funds is $15,162,397, which represents a reduction of $64,825 compared to the current year's budget, or 0.43% less. General fund budgeted expenditures for capital projects are for the streets in Henry Park in the amount of $219,500. Capital expenditures for the electric fund are budgeted at $217,500 for power plant and power distribution upgrades. The water fund is capital budget is $163,725 for well house upgrades and street lamps. The wastewater fund capital projects are for the upgrades of lift stations and the treatment plant in the amount of $172,500. Total capital projects budgeted for FY21 for all funds are $773,225, which is 15% less than the current year. All right, so now we'll begin the public hearing. Public hearing now is beginning, and earlier in tonight's meeting, I asked if anyone had any questions to submit them. Have any been submitted so far?
They were to be submitted to Mayor or Jeff. Did you receive any questions?
The only questions that I received, I
I'll go with this.
to you today.
Yeah, we got some that were submitted earlier today, And so go over them. Okay. That's it. So this,
Mayor, do we want to start this, the caveat, are there any questions from the county and then the state?
okay, yeah, we can do that. Are there any questions from the state of Maryland?
No.
Are there any questions from Worcester County?
No.
Okay. Now we'll address the questions that were submitted prior to the meeting. It says, if I read correctly, there is also an additional $50,000 in administrative general fund contribution from the sewer fund. The $50,000, what basically is it? The $50,000 administrative contribution is repayment from the sewer fund to the general fund. And this will happen if the sewer fund closes in a positive balance at the end of the fiscal year. And this is with all departments, all utility departments. Funds that had to be expended to meet their critical needs were borrowed from reserve. And now, as we started this year, current year we're in, and each of the next several years, each fund will pay back to the general fund to those reserves that were borrowed. And again, that is one of the last things that happens, because at that point, you have, you know how much money is left, and any excess monies that, excess monies that were budgeted to be paid back will go towards building up the reserve. Yes.
Whenever you are ready, we have 14 questions submitted by resident Jason Walter, so whenever you are ready.
But I have.
Okay. Okay, he's submitted on Facebook 14 questions. I'm not sure if they're the same.
And I'm going to,
Okay.
These were ones that Jason Walter sent to Town Hall earlier today.
Okay.
So they're going to be addressed here.
Mayor, I want to say one more thing regarding this question. I guess to make it simple, $50,000 right now, assuming that the fund finishes in the positive, will be repaid from the sewer to general fund. We've also got the same commitment with the stormwater fund of $25,000. So what I'm saying tonight to you and to the public, I call it the effort, the plan has been there now to repay. That's not been discussed in here in quite some time. So that's a positive.
Yes, it would be the first time. I'm just saying, there's other questions. I think the other was, let's see, break that down, where's repayments to the general fund. This also, just trying to bring this together, is we're talking about customer service reimbursements. There's questions as to why are the amounts for customer service reimbursements to the general fund went up basically 12.5%. And basically, Natalie, if you'll explain how that's calculated and how we came to those figures.
The total amount budgeted expenses for customer service getting back by reimbursement to the general fund according to the fixed percent. So if the customer service expenditure budgeted goes up, so the reimbursements from the utility funds going up. For the total of fiscal 21 budget is proposed, the customer service total went up by 12.49%. So the electric, water, sewer picks up the certain percent, so the increase is being passed on from the utility back to the general fund.
And this is not anything unusual.
No, it's been done the same way pretty much every year, but it varies according to the total of the customer service.
Now, can you explain how what that means?
Okay, so customer service, if the reports that were provided and posted online, pull the page. page 12, on the reports, the total for customer service is $396,878, which is an increase of 12.49% in comparison with the current budget. So electric fund picks 40% and reimburses general fund, so 40% of that amount. And obviously, it will be an increase of 12.49% as reimbursement. And so forth for water and sewer, water is 20%, sewer is 20%, and general fund retains 20%. And that's applicable, I think there's the same question relevant to each fund, so the answer would be the same basically for all of them. I see the question being asked for electric, for water and sewer in regards to the customer service reimbursements.
And again, this is reimbursement to the general fund because the general fund has to bear these expenses throughout the year. And then at the end of the year, if the utility is in the black as it's budgeted to be, then that's when the reimbursement occurs.
Those reimbursements are budgeted and they occurred every year.
Yeah, okay. But basically, they have to be completed by the end of the fiscal year.
Correct.
Which would be June 30th.
Yes.
Okay. All right, next, let's see. The question here is, what has caused budgeted retirement costs to increase by double digits? So in this case, you use examples of 24% increase for sanitation and 44% for streets. So again, best of my understanding, and Natalie, straighten me out if I'm not accurate or accurate enough, the state retirement is 11.7% this year that we must contribute. The state determines that percentage, and this is an increase from our current level, which is 10%.
Right.
So state determines that town contribution. We don't have any say, we just...
And that percent, that 11.7 is based off payroll. So for 5310 streets and for 5320, or 53 for sanitation and streets, we reorganize personnel there, so the payroll changed a little bit by department. It's the same people, but we reallocated folks.
All right, let's see. Next question is, what percentage of health insurance premiums are covered by employees? If someone's paying for employee-only health insurance, percentage is 90% is paid by the town and 10% is paid by the employee. For other groups such as family or employee spouse health coverage, the employee or family pays 70% of the, excuse me.
The town, 70%.
The town pays 70%, but the employees or families pay 30%. And none of these things have changed in many, many years. I don't remember how many.
We've been there, I started in 2010, 2011 is when we went to that split.
Okay, thank you. Yes. All right, next question is, budget reflects $10,000 in printed advertising and another $12,000 in radio TV. What is the benefit to the taxpayer? Well, this money goes for towards economic development and the promotion of the town for all things that we do. And economic development has expenses allocated for maps, brochures, TV and radio ads, and all of this economic development exists, and it's been very successful in first supporting and stabilizing the business community within our town, and also generating additional growth. And quite frankly, we're compared to other communities, when I go to mayor's conferences and so forth, they ask, how do we do that? And I'm saying, you've got to create a department, you've got to have somebody working it every day. It can't be something that's done here and there, oh, things are slow, let's do something. It's a study effort, and quite frankly, we have become a role model for small towns in this region. And so that's what that is for, and it promotes events, promotes special activities, it also promotes businesses relocating here, and also promotes people from way out of the area. And we do this also on the internet, to come, when they come to the region, and specifically Ocean City, Assateague, and other nearby resorts, drop by Berlin, you'll find it would be a very valuable experience. And we think it's been a great investment so far. Yes?
There is a follow-up question to your response. They said, well, what makes that different from marketing?
It is marketing. It is absolutely, it's marketing the town. And if the town doesn't do it, no one will. And believe me, I think it's been a great return on investment for the last about 10 years.
No disrespect, I know this is being televised, but there's no disrespect to any other small town on the Eastern Shore. But I've been around, you've all been around, when you drive through, I'm not finding fault with other towns, but you ride through towns here on the Eastern Shore. Maybe that's the way they are, but you look how vibrant this damn town is. They didn't get there overnight. You guys did it somehow. So I think you all need to be patted on the back for whatever you've done to do it, and I think this is a big victory.
And one thing I wanted to mention, what this is due to taxpayers, well, each of those businesses, if the business owns the property they're in, they pay taxes. But certainly if they only rent, then their landlord does. So for many years, when I was a newspaper reporter here, there were more businesses closed on Main Street and the side streets, many more than those that were open. And if that was the case today, our budget would be devastated. So we need every facet of the community to succeed, including our business community.
Yeah, at one time, Main Street was almost like a ghost town. So many businesses had closed.
And it's taken the effort of many different facets of the community. And the businesses are here for everyone, residents as well as visitors. Yes?
I'm sorry, another follow-up. It said, well, then what is the marketing at $7,000 in the budget? So there's a separate marketing.
They could easily contact our economic and development director.
Okay.
The marketing, it's not like it has to be in this corner or this little pod or what. It depends on what's changing. And right now, we're getting ready to do some special marketing on the post-COVID-19 situation. We want people to know that at the proper time, following the governor's orders, that Berlin is back and the best of Berlin is still here and ready to serve our residents and visitors for as far as in the future that we can see. And so therefore, it's based on what is the message and what warehouses, how best should that message be delivered to the public and to the different audiences that we have to succeed. And again, that's why you need an economic development department. You don't need a council sitting here saying, oh, we're going to put this many brochures and we're going to, no. You need somebody who knows what they're doing in that business. Promoting the town is a business in itself. And
When you go back to 2008, 2009, Mayor, I know this was before I started here, but from what I've learned, the town started out with a part-time economic development area. He was shared, that individual was shared between two towns. You all saw a need for that for a full-time basis. I think it speaks itself out here.
Up this way, the towns that not pursued it, they're not reaping the benefits. That helps everyone, including taxpayers. Okay, how many municipal employees take vehicles home? 19 is the total, and that includes our police vehicles, because our sworn officers also take home the vehicles. So if there's an emergency, they can respond immediately. And how many sworn officers do we have right now?
We're authorized 14.
14. So we have about roughly 5 that are not sworn police officers, that or employees take vehicles home. Okay. Okay, next question is, electric assistance has doubled and why? Well, it's been for several years, it's been at 10,000. And what this assistance is we establish this About 10 years ago. And at first it was a little less, I think it was 7,500 or something like that. And every late in the year during the holiday season, we send out a letter to all of our folks that live in Berlin and property owners and so forth, and ask if they wish to make a contribution to shore up so that that money can be used to help people who are financially in distress to pay their utility bills.
And it's matched by Shore Up.
And it's also, we, the town of Berlin, match that.
That's right.
So that dollar for dollar. So if we collect $8,000, we put if it goes to 10, we gladly put up 10. But the generosity of individuals and businesses in the town determines how much it is, and we will cover up to $10,000 in match.
The current cap's 10.
And we do not determine who gets that money. Shore Up does. They are the very well-known and very credible and respected agency who this is what they do. So the money, we don't see it, it goes to one of the local banks, then the local bank lets us know what the amount is, and then it's sent to Shore Up, and they're making sure that that money contributes to the benefit of residents with electric utility costs in the town of Berlin, not just anywhere. Okay, good question. Now we'll go on, let's see if there's, Natalie, because this is good, more in
There is a question that gets repeated through the funds for electric, water, sewer, in regards to the general overhead allocation. So basically, contribution, how it is general overhead amount contribution to the general fund justified. So just to explain, general overhead is a benefited cost of personnel costs for elected, admin, finance, and planning. And each utility fund contributes back to general fund to reimburse for the general overhead for the personnel. This varies according to the budgeted amount of each fund at the end without the capital expenditures. So if the fund balance goes up, then the general overhead goes up. If it goes down, then the general overhead will go down because the percent is getting reduced. Fiscal 21 general overhead is actually lesser going back to general fund than fiscal 20 current year because each fund showing a slight decrease.
And again, think of it in terms that the general fund is what most people would think of as a government budget. The utility funds are basically the utilities that are fully and totally owned by the town of Berlin, but they're businesses. And so therefore there are services that the general fund provides to make everything work, but then these amounts go back to offset the cost that the town government is providing for each of these utilities, and of course it varies by utility because of their service and the number of employees and other overhead costs.
Yes.
Okay? Let's see. Natalie, do you know of any other questions here? I tried to hit all of them. Is there anything else in
In
there?
comparing to the online questions he's asked, the ones I see still remaining are, why did salaries increase 19% for the sewer department? That's one of them.
Sewer department had, in the prior, we had allocation of one full-time employee who was allocated to 3 funds, water, sewer, and stormwater. Then with the promotion and different allocation, we had 50-50 split between sewer and water only. So the increase is due to the reorganization in personnel, basically.
And basically, the reorganization will reflect what they've actually ended up
Right.
doing. You
Instead
have
of
to start somewhere.
third, now it's 50-50.
Yeah, now 50/50. So that's a good question as well. Let's see.
Oh, so there's a couple.
How is the general overhead amount a contribution to the general fund of $181,000 justified. That'll be probably very
It's
similar to.
basically the same, yes, it's for all the funds.
So basically, the principle behind that again, because it is, Natalie, if you'll just explain why the general fund has to basically provide these services, and then why the various departments within the general fund have to cover the overhead. If you,
But just, if you just explained perfectly in a couple of minutes ago, so the general government, basically, you touch in every single utility fund. So think of it as the utility funds is contributing expense back the general fund for the services that the general government provide, including the elected officials, planning department, administration, and finance. So it's pretty much to the same fund, and it depends on what is the budgeted amount at the end of the year. 5%.
okay. Yeah, I think there's one that hasn't been addressed. That's under stormwater. It says the general fund was obligated to a $300,000 annual contribution to stormwater, but has often contributed nothing and has never made the full contribution. Why is the stormwater fund once again making a contribution back to the general fund? Would you explain that?
Well, there's a little bit of two different things going on. On fiscal 21, there is I want to call it payback, 25,000 budgeted, and we discussed in the workshop, that's all dependent how the stormwater will operate and end the year. If this transfer will be possible, then we're committing 25,000 from stormwater to transfer back to general fund. But that has nothing to do with actual contributions that were made in the past when we established the stormwater. The 300,000 was the very first transfer made, I believe, in 2013 to start the stormwater and to apply for the grants and go on with the expenses. So those transfers were made. They're not. This is not part of that 300. It's something different.
Stormwater, correct me if I'm wrong, since its establishment has between local taxpayers' money, stormwater fees, and grants, has spent about, what, $2.75 million?
I think it's, close to 3 point.
Almost $3 million. And it's projected that we'll do all the stormwater upgrades that are needed throughout the town, that we'll need to spend more than twice that amount.
Right.
Somewhere in that ballpark, because once you do it, you find out, like anything else, when you start working a project like that, you have what is expected and what's not expected.
Well, I think Darrell, May 11, discussed everything in details, and I think the presentation with the slides still is on the website, so
Yeah.
anybody can refer to what can spend and how much more we will need in the future.
Okay. All right. Is any other questions?
Yes, I have several others. There's one more from Mr. Walter, just at the approved 80 cent of 100 rate, our municipal taxes are excessive and nearly doubled at the statewide average. What is being done to bring the cost of living in Berlin into check?
First of all, the cost of living in Berlin does not need to be brought in check. I think this notion that you're comparing tax rates to tax rates does not take into account the fact that property values vary greatly throughout the state. If you live in the Baltimore-Washington corridor, the rates will be lower, but the actual taxes you pay per year are multiple times more than we would ever think of. Quite frankly, the cost of living here is based on the values of the community. There are some people, and I understand their idea, is that we should always strive to be the cheapest place to live, period. And quite frankly, from my experience, both as a journalist for over 30 years, and now for 16 years in municipal public life here in Berlin. I know that the race to the bottom is a bottomless pit. This town has certain values that are widely held by an overwhelming majority of people as to what they expect in town services, quality of life, the business community and what it offers, and the attraction to visitors and to the entire realm of services. We're at envy in this area, not some folks that people say, oh, poor old Berlin. Berlin, they could do this and they could do that. No, it didn't happen overnight. It took at least 30 years to get where we are. And the value for what people pay in taxes is extraordinarily good, and I stand put us up against any municipality in this state. It's not just the rate, it's how much you actually pay in taxes. And I believe it's been brought up a number of times in the last year that we actually had a tax break back when the recession hit. A lot of people forgot that, and that's understandable. But people are now paying in taxes almost as much as they paid, what's that, 10 years ago? Troy, what was that figure? The number of years ago that people were actually paying in taxes?
Oh, it was back 10, 11 years ago.
Okay, so basically, people in the actual dollar amounts are paying what they paid, at least a decade ago. So, but the amount of services, quality of life, I think any reasonable, fair-minded person would say it's better than it's ever been. We still got work to do, but if someone values, wants to pay less in taxes, they need to consider where they can live where that is possible. We're not expensive, and we certainly don't even have the highest rates here in Worcester County. So it's just one of those things that, it's what you get for your money, the value. And for that, I make no apology, and I don't believe the council should either.
The next question, just so you're aware, we have 9 lined up. Next question is from Marie Belong. Did the mayor and council get a raise in this?
No.
Okay. The following question she had is, why is the election expense so high compared to the last expense?
It's so high. Well, basically, we're paying our election judges, I think we're paying them $25 more than we did for the last several years. They had an increase in many years, as far back as I can remember.
Can you add anything to that?
Yeah.
The only thing that I can say, the elections expenses cover the required advertising, some supplies, and the payment to the election board and workers for the day. Excuse me. Elections are held every 2 years. We try to base the prices on our last experience. Advertising costs go up every year, just like anything else. Supplies, it's an estimate, but $3,000 to run a municipal election is minimal.
And that's the total cost.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, with trends, it may be more people may want to vote by mail in the future. Well, if that's what people want, we'll certainly adjust. There's a lot of debate about it, but the bottom line is, if that's what people want, we'll do it, but it will cost even more.
Correct.
So it's one of the reasons it's probably not been promoted in the past is because no matter what level of government or what municipality or county or state you're talking about, the cost has always been higher to do mail voting.
Oh, certainly.
Voting by mail. So if that's the direction the town wants to go into, we'll find a way to make it happen. But it does come at a price, and it's not a philosophical question at this point. It's just, okay, what do people want, and what are they willing to pay for?
She had a follow-up to that saying, why was it 400 and now it's up to 3,000?
Well, in the last election, we did not pay poll workers because the election was canceled because only one person ran for each seat, and that's the primary expense.
There's no contest, there's no election. Okay.
Her next question, it's also Marie Belong, the next viewer. Why is there so much vacation admin buyback? Why is it so high?
I can answer that. 5, 6 years ago, well, let me back up. Better than 50% of our employees have been here a significant period of time. They are at the max vacation accrual level. Mayor and council changed the personnel policy manual and made it very clear that there would be no carryover of vacation that exceeded 240 hours. So, irregardless of what the hours are that employees have accrued, that is a liability to the town. If the employee quits, gets fired, retires, or dies, vacation alone is paid out at their current wage. So I remember this very well. I came to you all and I said I'd like to propose, I think it's a savings to the town. What we have is a vacation sellback, buyback, whatever you want to call it. There's criteria to qualify for it. But the dollar amount, the employee sells 1 hour of their wages back to the town at 80 cents on the dollar. So what you're gaining by that, you're saving 20% on the current wage versus paying that 100% down the road.
And having that on the books from year after year.
That's right. And I can tell you over the last, since that buyback program went into effect, that overall liability to the town has gone the other way, it's hit the other way now.
The other way.
Meaning good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next.
Her next question is, so much is spent on Main Street, not the rest of the town. How does this help the residents?
First of all, I disagree that so much is spent on Main Street and not the rest of the town. Every neighborhood is important to this town, and every neighborhood is a place to be proud of. And that wasn't always the case. Not just comparing East Berlin and Berlin west of 113, but neighborhoods. There were a few very nice neighborhoods and a lot of ones that needed a lot of work. And now, we're basically saying, okay, what's on first? But it's no comparison. It's kind of like if you don't have a long experience or a good memory about what this town was like 30, 40 years ago, it didn't happen overnight, but it's been a constant, never-ending effort to make every place a good place to live and the business community sound and contributing to the town's overall financial well-being. And I'm just sorry, I disagree very respectfully. I understand that some people think that we should only serve residents and no one else. Well, I can guarantee you one thing. If that ever becomes our philosophy as a town, be prepared to see this town die. You could exist, but you'd be on death row, and I hope that in none of our lifetimes we ever see that reoccur.
Marie's next question is, what is ADP?
That is our payroll contractor that we use. They actually, two functions that they do for us. We use their database for our HR database, and they're also the function that we utilize to process payroll.
So it's a software to process the payroll.
Right.
Next, we have a Maria Azari. Do you expect a decrease in funding from the county in the area of casino impacts due to COVID-19?
Absolutely.
Yes, and again, we do not budget everything we hope to get or maybe getting. What we do is I've always taken a conservative approach, and we think that the minimum that we hope to count on towards which we apply to the debt service of the new police station, that it certainly cover that. And any more than that, we just, again, save it up for paying off that debt over the next several years. And if it's not quite as high, it just means the debt will be paid off a little slower, but it won't affect anybody's rates or anything else. And that's why that money is completely dedicated for that. And once that's taken care of, once that debt is retired, then mayor and council at that time to determine how they want to use those funds.
The next question is from Marie Belong, but I'm not sure as far as context because she posed the question, I guess, while we were talking about something else. Do those departments contribute to the utility fund for the service the utilities provide? So I'm not sure exactly what
Could you read it
departments. Do those departments contribute to the utility funds for the services that the utilities provide? I'm not sure which department she's
I can
referring to.
connect
but-
to, I guess, the discussion over the overhead, the general overhead. The utility funds provide back to general fund for the services, for government services. That's the only way I can understand that question.
Yeah. The next question.
So the general fund is not subsidizing all the various utility funds and their operations.
The utility funds pay for themselves, and then they have the contribution that comes back for the services that the general fund employees are involved with.
It's not free.
The next question is from Jack Orris. Has customer service ever been a part of the admin, a part of admin in the books? Has customer service ever been a part of admin on the books?
If it was many, many years ago. I don't recall it.
Before Natalie here.
Yeah.
It'd be more than a decade ago.
Yeah.
More than a decade.
And then I just have one more at this time, and it is Marie Belong. I thought Town Hall was going to be doing the cleaning. I don't know if there's a cleaning portion in the budget.
The contract that's in place for the current FY, the contractors clean Town Hall, all town buildings, and also to include the police department. Going into FY '21, the amount of money, I believe it's around $11,000, is in the 53, the building and grounds. That money is going to be used with a contractor that's going to clean the restrooms, the public restrooms, and then I've also got a committal from them to clean the restrooms inside the building as well. All other cleaning beyond that will be done by town staff.
And I think that's very sound. We want people who are professionals, and sometimes they have to do multiple cleanings. We have a lot of people in town in one day. And it just makes sense. And that's a good question. Thank you.
In this time, we've received another from Marie Belong in regards to the question she had prior. Don't those utility funds provide services to the general overhead?
I don't know.
I can go on to our next question. Now we have the Maria Azaria again. What are we doing for the police department to try to retain our officers rather than letting them continue to leave and go to other law enforcement agencies?
But we're not having a drain at this time. And what in this budget is proposed is a 9% raise for all sworn officers. We don't want them to be among the lowest paid. We want them to be right in the middle, and that put them there. And again, it's like everything else. You can't do everything in 1 year. So each year we try to figure out what priorities we can afford to do. And this year, we'd love to have done it last year.
And what we did as well about 3 years ago, the driving proponent behind this was the police department. The query came in about tuition reimbursement. And this council had passed a policy that the employee can get full tuition reimbursement. There are criteria as well, but it's a very rich tuition reimbursement policy. And I know that 2, maybe 3 of our officers have taken advantage of that.
Yeah, so that they can be more qualified and therefore earn more money and be more in demand. And we're not suffering some sort of flow out of officers, but we want to prevent that, and we want to also continue to attract well-qualified applicants. You just don't want to take just anybody. You want to take people who are going to become a very, very good police officer, which has been our experience for decades.
Okay. I have another question from a Robert Johnson in regards to account number 01-5100-5608, which just for your reference is the fire and EMS operating allocation. What is the justification for reducing the allocation for fire and EMS?
Well, we have for many, many years been the most generous municipality in this entire region, possibly the entire state. And we were up to $605,000, then we had to cut back to $545,000. And for municipalities of this size, with the number of calls for fire and EMS, the high numbers were about 200 to 250,000. This year, we will be providing 400,000. And quite frankly, we've made a presentation to the county commissioners, which we want to make a priority again, that we have an antiquated system of funding in Worcester County for fire and EMS. It's just absurd. And the mayors of every town have asked that a task force be established by Worcester County commissioners so that there are many options and there are many examples throughout this area, not clear across the country, that work very well. And we think it's time that we work together on this, and we can't keep saying no to all these other things that we're responsible for. So we've reduced the grant so that we're able to accomplish all these other things that people do expect and do benefit for. And we asked the Berlin Fire Department to join with us in working with the county commissioners to get a system put in place that is equitable and fair and is not based on, zones that the fire companies kind of negotiate and who's here and who gets to go there and all. No, an EMS system that is coordinated and unified, like in most places in this state, in most places in this country, that's unless you're in a rural area. And I say Berlin and northern Worcester County is not a traditional, good old rural area. We have changed in all manner of things, and we need to change the system as well. So we're putting forth what is fair and still the most generous in this entire area, but we can't just keep going to the well and expect the well not to go dry. Okay?
I have another question from Marie Belong. Why are utility funds, which are funded by fees, charged for admin, etc., overhead, when they also receive services from the utilities? If you want, I can read that one more time.
Is she trying to ask, I wonder if she's trying to ask, if a department, let's take the police department. Do they pay their light bill? Do the police department and every other department in the town of Berlin, they may be provided electric service by the town, but we can't say don't pay. They are charged just like any other entity in the town and expected to pay their electric light bill just like I have to pay mine.
It is delayed, so she may respond to your response, but it might have a
But I think that's what she's trying to ask.
I'll see if she can clarify or confirm. But other than that, I do not have any other questions at this moment.
Can I move to close that portion of the, or is that something?
No, I mean, you can make a motion at any time, then have the council vote on it.
I think that's what she was referring to, because now she has said, so does administration.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay.
Would you like to make that motion?
Yes, move to close the question and answer section of the public hearing.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilmember Burrell to close the public hearing on proposed FY21 budget. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Now,
opposed?
do I understand this correctly? We're making a motion to stop hearing from the public?
No. Yes, we're making a motion to stop
I'm
the
just
public
trying to,
hearing.
but normally it's opened and closed by the mayor, correct?
It usually is, but there are no more questions, so.
But all I'm saying is, I want to, in this situation, I want to see if anybody had any other questions or whatever. if you don't want to
Well,
make a
then I'm
motion.
opposed to closing the public hearing. That's normally done by you. You wait until the end of public input and then you close the meeting. But, I mean, that's,
I close the public hearing.
So, forgive me if I was out of order.
all right.
Okay. All right. Now we're up to item 4, which is a motion approving M&G rental property.
No, we gotta go back.
Oh, yeah, budget adoption, thank you. All right. Anyone wish to make a motion regarding the approval of the proposed budget for FY21?
I make a motion that approve FY '21 budget.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Brittingham to approve the budget as proposed for fiscal year 2021. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed?
Okay. Thank you. So the vote was 4-1 with Councilmember Tyndall opposed. All right, now we'll move to item number 4, which is the motion to approve M&G rental properties, purchase and finance 3 equivalent dwelling units, or EDUs, for 2 Stevenson Lane.
And I can talk about that, Mayor. Mr. Ernie Girardi, who's not here this evening, approached the town. He's in the planning phase to put a new building up on 2 Stevenson Lane, adjacent to Palmer's Appliance, back there in the back end, as I call it. He wants to be, ahead of the game. He wants to purchase 3 EDUs. He wishes to finance those. He did present me with a check for the deposit, which I do have. And the contract is in front of you as we speak.
I have a question. So the property does not have any EDUs assigned to it?
Correct.
I believe it has one current.
One, it does have one, I stand corrected.
Isn't it 200, okay, so he wants to go 750 gallons in addition to what he currently has? Because each EDU is 250 gallons, correct?
Correct.
So, and I understand there are going to be 4 units. Each unit needs its own EDU, right? Did I read this correctly?
That's correct.
So it has 1 and needs 3 more.
Correct.
I make a motion to approve.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilmember Tyndall to approve the purchase and financing of 3 EDUs for 2 Stevenson Lane. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
I do want to say something real
I have a
quick.
question.
Go ahead.
I would like to know how many EDUs we have being financed now throughout the town. I want to know if the payments are being received on time and appropriately, and by how many individuals.
We can email you this information. For the payments, I can assure you that the payments received in time, and because we invoice the finance EDUs on a monthly basis and receive the payments. How many total, I will have to email it
Yeah,
to
and when you did you
email it
so
to
the
everybody.
total that we financed, and then the total
Total
that
of
we
EDUs
used,
financed.
yeah,
Yes.
that are not financed.
And I do want to share,
Purchase conditions.
I call this a feel-good story, okay? Carolyn Duffy, who everyone knows over in Plains, she called me last week and said, how much does Mr. Girardi need to make this check out for? And I told her. She called him and she said, well, he told her that he was getting ready to go out of town. And Carolyn said, well, I'll slip down and get it from you. I'll walk down and get it. So she goes down and Mr. Girardi's still in his pajamas. He said, this is customer service.
You better believe it.
All right, are we ready to move on to number 5 on the agenda?
Yep.
All right, I'd like to make 2 nominations for our Berlin Board of Elections. We have 2 people who transitioned off after great service, and that was Ruth Ryder and Mr. Burdell. And both of them did a wonderful job, but I think they put in their time many years. And what I'd like to recommend, after talking to these people, making sure they had an interest, is that you all consider Nikki Chavez, who is the Deputy Director of the Chamber of Commerce and been extremely active in the town of Berlin for many years, and knows a lot of folks and has a real commitment beyond just for chamber work. And the other is I'd like to nominate Steve Freeney, who was one of the former co-owners of Victorian Charm. And his wife, Debbie, I guess officially retired and sold the business, the first of this year, this past January. So I think they're both enthusiastic. They want to be involved, and I think they would do a very good job. And then we'd be all set, because we do have an election, a municipal election in October, and allow the entire elections for start meetings and start planning and doing the training that everybody needs prior to each election. So that's my recommendation. But how do you all feel?
Motion to approve.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilmember Goyas to approve the nominations to the Board of Elections of Nikki Chavis and Steve Freeney. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, but the motion passed 5-0. Next is the town administrator's report.
Good evening. I'm going to, first of all, just give you some updates from the respective departments. In the electric utility, they've done some underground service and upgraded transformers along Washington Street, street light repair, tree trimming, and 101 South Main disconnect for customers' side electrical upgrade. And I want to give everyone an update on the new generator. It is here. It is new. It's quite an impressive machine. If you get the opportunity, stop down to the power plant. Tim would love to show you the new generator. It is still scheduled to be operational sometime in July. Now, the number 4 engine, the Mitsubishi.
This is new generator is powered by natural gas.
Natural gas. That is correct. The engine that failed, that the new one's replacing, was a Mitsubishi. It failed. The number 4 engine is a light engine of that Mitsubishi. The local government insurance trust, when the number 2 blew up, obviously they came in and they wanted to really look at the light engine. So they directed us to take that light engine and reset everything back to factory OEM specs. So some of the things that we had to do, one of the big things was to remove the fuel injectors that were shipped to the state of Texas, to the Mitsubishi folks down there. They calibrated the new fuel, or the fuel injectors, sent them back. We had a contractor here to install them. They pretty much everything buttoned up on the number 4, fired it up, and then we had a mechanical issue with that engine. The good news is it did not destroy the engine. The bad news is one of the pistons and cylinders is going to require some work. We don't know. We do not have a cost on that yet. The contractor is evaluating that for us now. So it's going to be a delay in getting that engine running, but we're all in hopes to have that thing up in the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Great.
Question on that.
Yeah.
Do you have how many generators, 4 or 5?
We have the old Fairbanks Morris, we have the new generator, and then we have the one Mitsubishi.
4 already.
And one of them is still down, correct? Down.
One
was kaput before.
One is gone, and the other one is down as we speak.
So we got 3, they're operable, and 1 is going to need repair, and it has to be repaired. And it will be back online, but it may not be back online when
We're guessing 4 to 6 weeks. And what we also have down there, as we're speaking, are the temporary generators that were brought in place. So we're kind of hoping that the new engine's up and running. We've got the temporary generators, get the other one fixed. So we've got that as hopefully a stopgap, if you will. The timing's going to be important here. Okay. Planning Department, Planning Commission on the 10th of June. Following things are going before the Planning Commission for site plan approval. The 7-Eleven out on North Main Street, the hotel,
And Oceans East has come forward now, this is preliminary. 8 new buildings are on Mr. Vernier's radar right now, somewhere between 150 to 156 units. That is, to put it in perspective, currently out there are 180 units. And these new units will go to the rear of the current units, so going a bit further east. And then the site plan itself has less density than what is permitted. So it's not going to be, the permitted density allows one thing, this is going to be less.
Yeah, give me those numbers again.
For Oceans East, this is preliminary. 8 new buildings, 150 to 156 units,
150,
50 to 156 proposed. Currently out there's 180 units.
as of right now, it's 180 units
That are there now,
finished,
yes, or finished or just about done.
just back now.
Yep,
And that's 8 buildings he has now.
I believe it is 8.
But are there any plans right now for the front of the land that's closer to Route 50?
You talking about the vacant land now? No,
Okay.
no. And then the other thing, the meeting last week that Dave Engard had, the blacksmith came before the committee seeking approval to put a outdoor seating, a deck on that concrete footprint that's out in front of blacksmith, and they did get approval for that.
On the Ocean East, back to that, I've had a couple of residents, might want to look into this, are really concerned about the one entrance. And I'm not promoting another entrance, but these two people live in that complex, and they're really concerned about that one entrance with that many people. We're talking about 150 to 156 more. So it might be something we want to look at.
Yeah, a second, possibly a second entrance, so
Well,
not all one place.
yeah, towards Fifth.
Toward 50.
Okay?
And I think that's the understanding, they know that any access and egress should not go towards Flower Street, it should go towards US 50, which is the main artery.
There are some people right now, being that school's been out for a while, that are actually going to Stephen Decatur, making a U-turn and coming back to Flower Street. They even had one lady approach me in the grocery store. She was concerned about the one entrance. And she said, you know what I do? I go to Stephen Decatur, make a U-turn and come back.
Well, without school in session, that's one thing, because that's a good thing that they're doing that versus doing a U-turn in the middle of the road. But I can see the concern that you would have if school was in session.
Right.
The economic, Ivy Wells from Economic and Community Development, she's continuing to assist businesses and future property owners with new ideas for sustainability during this new world we are living in. Many are opening during the farmers market. That would be the downtown merchants opening up on Sundays. She is planning a reopening festival with a variety of Berlin nonprofits to be called, quote, the Best of Berlin is Back, end quote, festival, to include a little bit of each event that had to be canceled. So that's TBA, because we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. I do want the mayor and council and all the citizens in the town to know that town employees are back now to a normal schedule. All town buildings are open. There are certain criteria when you enter buildings, and placards are on the doors, so please read that. And that concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions for Jeff? Already? Just one quick comment is that, again, the Governor Hogan has been making weekly press conferences midweek, which would be tomorrow is Wednesday, and so I'm anticipating he'll make another one
At 5.
Yes, yes.
5 p.m. So certainly won't be tuned into that. But I'm also anticipating and certainly hopeful that he will continue to the process of reopening the state, I think there's a lot of people, anybody who is concerned about going out simply shouldn't. If you're in doubt, don't, whatever is concerning you. But I do think that we are gradually and steadily returning to some level of normalcy, and I'm certainly hopeful that by the beginning of June, we can enter the next stage. And again, I'm very hopeful that by the time June ends, either by the middle or the end of June, that we'll be at whatever normal is going to be for the next several months anyway. That's all I have. Any comments from council?
I have one question about where we stand with the farmer's market. As far as using Main Street, I know that we were waiting to hear back from the chief of police, and he had some concerns, but where do we stand overall?
This past weekend, Sunday, I was here. The Main Street has not been closed, but we have placed some very obvious signage when you approach Main Street. It says Main Street is not closed, please use either of the two crosswalks. And that seemed to work. I was here Sunday, you were here.
And what's happening is that obviously the farmer's market is full, or, they've got a little bit of growth allowed in the number of vendors, and certainly that will help when social distancing is no longer needed. But more businesses each week that have downtown businesses are opening up on Main Street, and so people can walk from the farmer's market area and just walk along the sidewalk. And we're certainly open to businesses who are retail businesses in Berlin. If they can't be part of the farmer's market, but if they work with the businesses who are on Main Street, then they're certainly welcome to participate in that, because that way we've got our year-round businesses having some benefit, and the farmer's market is doing very well, and I think we're again an example for farmers markets in this area.
So the business owners, the ones that I have spoken to, said that the benefit of the farmers market has really helped the businesses, the merchants in town on that Sunday. It helps.
Now, I'm a little concerned with the crosswalk traffic and the people going from one end to the other across Main Street. Could we see what it would take to maybe get like volunteer crossing guards or something in that realm, or if there's any entrance fee to the farmer's market, maybe that's meant to cover a crossing guard if it's going to remain in that. It gets a little tricky. I mean, seriously, when you're traveling there and you have people that, I mean, I traveled Main Street twice and I went to the farmer's market myself and I watched people going right in the center. So the crosswalks are there, they're visible. I agree, but I think that if you're going to have something that's going to straddle Main Street and still keep that main corridor open, it might be beneficial to look into having somebody there that's able to say, hey, look, stop traffic or use your crosswalks or something along those lines.
Jeff, why don't you talk to the police department and see if they can do something like that, because that's their responsibility, is traffic control, and they certainly do a great job with events, but here's something where, it would only take an officer, and again, it's also just good when we're getting that many people downtown, just to have an officer on the
I'm going to be
side.
realistic. I like the idea, but I'm going to be realistic right now with the police department down 3 officers. They're kind of strapped on manpower as well.
And I'm not anticipating that this takes a sworn officer to conduct traffic control. I mean, you can put a volunteer with a reflective vest, or maybe we hire part-time personnel. Why not look into what it would take? Maybe it's not feasible this fiscal year, but maybe next fiscal year we look at onboarding somebody to help manage some of that traffic.
And again, what we can do though is see if we can ask Ivy if she can round up a volunteer between she and the chamber and everybody working together. I would like to think that it'd be someone who would actually enjoy it and wants to be there anyway and can help the community with.
Make sure they have a reflective vest on.
Yeah.
A whole box of them.
Yeah.
You got the county school crossing guards, maybe somebody out of that group might volunteer.
I mean, it's a nice spot. I mean, you get to talk to everybody, and they're just,
And they haven't even had good weather yet.
I mean, exactly. And we get the people that occupy the stand and the information booth, and they enjoy it thoroughly. So I wouldn't see this as being anything different.
Okay.
That's all I have.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
When are we gonna hear from Ms. Jean Holloway?
Hold on.
I had communication with her. We're updating the reports with the fiscal 19 data. And she probably will be able to put some sort of a draft presentation by the end of this fiscal year, hopefully. Due to her travel and COVID, she's a little bit behind and,
Are you talking about the end of this June?
yes.
Okay, just,
By this.
because we talked about a lot of fiscal years today, so.
End of the year?
She's projecting. I'm not gonna say it's for sure.
All right, but just let her know that we are very interested
Yes.
in learning something, and we realize she's only one person, but just let her know that
Yeah.
we're very interested in having that report as soon as possible. Okay?
I got 2 items. First one is, I've got 7 requests to open up Stephen Decatur Park this week. Can that be done?
Because when the governor, that's why I'm anticipating, because right
Well,
now.
that way, because I know 2 of them are watching.
And it's fine. I've had, of all the requests I've had, that's number one. I
Exactly.
mean, and it can from a variety of people, it's not just one or two.
Can they just use the walking path maybe?
And here's the thing. What we're trying to do is the parking situation is, we have to have police there to police if you're on the walking path and then somebody else comes over on the playground. It creates a problem. I'm very hopeful, that's why I made my comments earlier, that tomorrow that it will loosen enough that we cease to have that problem, because we have sanitized our playground equipment in both Stephen Decatur Park and Henry Park. We would do that before it reopened, and we would continue to do that on a regular basis, depending on usage. But it's kind of thing is that if everybody obeyed the rules all the time, it'd be no problem. And I don't think I'll ever live to see that day. So, it's one of those things that we can't, if everybody is held to the same level, then when things are loosened, and I'm expecting it very soon. I honestly don't know why they wouldn't be open by no later than June 1st. But let's see that. If so, we will gladly do it.
Yeah, because the governor has a speech, I think, for tomorrow.
Tomorrow at 5.
Five. And every one of them he's announced, in the beginning, tightening of all kinds of situations and the stay-at-home order and all that. But in the last 3 weeks, each week has been a loosening and expanding. And, I'm hoping that that's the next step. And then hopefully very close to that is reopening of restaurants and eventually get everybody rocking and rolling again. But they're in a better position to make that call statewide. And my own personal thing is that I realize there are places like Montgomery and Prince George's County that are epicenters of this pandemic, and maybe local officials there need from a public safety standpoint, tighter restrictions. But I don't think everywhere in the state needs to be held to those strict standards, because we don't all live in highly congested, highly populated areas. And our experience here has been very, very fortunate. And I think a study, a gradual loosening, it's fine.
And I would say, I understand, because we're all creatures of habit, and I respect that immensely. With the walking path being closed currently at Stephen Decatur Park, I highly encourage folks to take the trip to the north end of town, to Heron Park. There are benches around. There are 4 benches, so you can have a seat if you get winded. There are picnic tables out there. It is a relatively flat, not cushion, but flat walk. There's plenty of parking.
And we did open that as soon as the governor's guidelines allowed, the very next morning. So, it's a transition. Hopefully we're hopefully more than halfway through that transition.
Okay, second thing is, the mayor knows and some other folks know, my family and I have purchased property down in South Point. That's why I was late this evening. I was meeting with our builder and with a demo crew down there. I wanted to let everybody know that as of the last meeting this September, I will be stepping down. I wanted to make that announcement now so that anybody that is qualified living in town, they could go ahead, I would assume, fill out the last 2 years.
Yes.
I'm looking at you.
Yeah, it would not be a new term.
Exactly,
It'd be filled in.
exactly. So I just, I wanted to let everybody know that. And we hope to be down there by the end of this year, but with this COVID, it's thrown the schedule way out of whack.
So when's the party?
When you give me the check, we're ready. You just got 2 checks.
Good, very good. But I'm sorry that you're going to be leaving.
As am I, but this is a gorgeous piece of property right on the water on Newport Bay.
Well, it's part of, I'm sure your family's been working with this for a long
It's
time.
300 feet of waterfront footage. I've always wanted to be back on the water. It's time.
And I guess that means you're not going to be answering calls about, as your at-large councilman anymore. You will have.
Oh, I'm sure I'll get them. Not a doubt in my mind. I'll forward them over to Jeff.
Okay, thank you. No, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Hope it goes well.
Thank you.
Just status of MDE and Heron Park.
I have heard nothing. The last communication that I had, honestly, was about 60 days ago. I reached out to MD because verbally I've been told that the shallow well testing that we did, all that was fine, verbally, but I've not received that letter yet.
At the end of Flush Street, where the county stopped the resurfacing, we got some terrible potholes.
That section of road is on there to be redone.
Yeah, something needs to be done.
Immediately.
before.
Okay.
Like this,
I was out there,
yeah,
I was out there today, I know what you're talking about.
yeah.
Okay, good.
And I don't know about the rest part of town, but I know Branch Street and Flower Street, we got those nice looking sidewalks, but the weeds are coming up.
And that was discussed today as well.
I've had that comment too. If it's something we can do, in some cases, weed killer, but in other cases, I actually think it's going to, on whatever basis, and you all can think about it, some of those weeds have just gotten so out of control, they need to be scraped out. And that's not, and I think over, certainly anywhere in town, it shouldn't be, some streets get maintained for that purpose and others don't. There's some sort of plan to come up. I realize it takes a little while, but I do agree. It's I guess it's a function of the fact that it rains so much more. The grass and the little cracks, even though they're planned, are going crazy.
One of the guys works for the town. I sprayed mine in front of my house, and he stopped. He was not even working. He was off. He said, "We plan to do that next week."
That's right.
That was last week. So.
I think it's going to take a lot more than a week. But if we have a plan, and you'll just let all of us know what it is, so when we do get inquiries, we can respond with real information. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Great.
You do have 2 members of the press here, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Yes. Any comments or questions from representatives from the press? Okay.
Thank you for having us here.
Thanks for being here. All right. And all right. I think we're ready. If anyone wants to move to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.